Since the beginning of the second Trump administration, we've seen a drop in overseas travelers coming to the U.S. Stats from the International Trade Administration show February saw a decrease of 2.4% compared to the same time last year, but the decline was even more steep in March, 11.6%.
America's tourism industry is unraveling, and hardly anyone is paying attention. The golden age of U.S. travel may be over, and in 2025, 10 states are silently falling apart as tourists vanish and economies crack under the pressure. This isn't just a drop in bookings. It's a nationwide tourism collapse, one that's hitting local communities and businesses like a tidal wave. What's behind this dramatic downfall? From record inflation and international boycotts to rising crime rates and shifting global preferences, in fact, America is projected to lose $64 billion in tourism revenue in 2025 alone, according to multiple industry reports. That's not a dip, that's a nosedive. And before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on more engaging content. Number 10, Colorado. You think of Colorado, you think mountains, skiing, national parks, a nature lover's dream, right? But in 2025, the tourism numbers are painting a darker picture. According to the Colorado Tourism Office, the state saw a nearly 18% drop in international arrivals this year, the steepest in over a decade. Why? The ripple effects of new global travel warnings and souring U.S. reputation abroad. Ski towns like Aspen and Vail are seeing cancellations from Europe and Asia, where visitors once poured in for winter luxury. Summer national park visits are also slumping. Fewer German and UK travelers hiking through Rocky Mountain National Park means local restaurants, lodges, and guides are taking massive hits. And it gets worse. Outdoor recreation used to be Colorado's bulletproof industry, but when foreign travel agents stop promoting the U.S. altogether, even states with stunning scenery start to suffer. Think nature saves you? Not this year. Number 9, Florida. You'd think Florida would be bulletproof. Sunshine, beaches, Disney cruise ships, the full vacation fantasy. But 2025 has dealt a blow even the mouse couldn't dodge. The Sunshine State, once one of the crown jewels of American tourism, is suddenly facing empty hotel rooms, thinned-out theme parks, and cruise terminals operating far below capacity. Florida's international visitor numbers have plunged by over 22% compared to last year, according to Visit Florida. That's not a dip. That's a full-on collapse. Once reliable tourists from the UK, Brazil, Germany, and especially Canada are canceling trips and choosing friendlier, more stable destinations. For a state that welcomed over 10 million international visitors annually pre-pandemic, this drop-off is catastrophic. So, what's scaring them off? A mix of increasing travel warnings, divisive political headlines, and a perception abroad that Florida just isn't as welcoming as it used to be. Canadian and European governments have quietly raised caution levels, citing a surge in anti-tourist sentiment, controversial state policies, and a jump in border screening friction. Travel agencies across Europe have begun steering clients toward alternative beach destinations like Mexico and the Caribbean. The impact is brutal and widespread. In Orlando, resort bookings are down nearly 30% among international guests. In Miami, the once booming nightlife economy is slowing to a crawl. In cruise ports like Fort Lauderdale, last-minute cancellations are spiking. Entire voyages are sailing underbooked. Theme parks have seen a noticeable dip in global foot traffic, with international attendance falling well below expectations. And the ripple effect? Local restaurants, hotels, tour companies, and rental services are bleeding revenue. Florida's economy is tightly tied to tourism. It's the beating heart of the state's financial ecosystem. If this global cold shoulder continues, the damage could become generational. For a place built on beach days and family vacations, Florida is staring down an economic storm even its coastlines can't weather. Number 8, Illinois. When you think Illinois tourism, one word dominates: Chicago. From deep dish pizza to world-class museums, towering skyscrapers to iconic blues music, the Windy City has long been a magnet for international travelers. But in 2025, the winds have shifted, and the crowds just aren't showing up. International travel through Chicago O'Hare has dropped by over 19% this year, according to U.S. Customs. And it's not just airport traffic. Hotels across downtown are posting vacancies during what should be peak travel months. International travel agencies report fading demand for U.S. city trips, and Chicago, once a must-see stop for European and Asian tourists, is slipping off itineraries. What's driving the decline? A mix of policy backlash, rising costs, and safety concerns. Foreign media outlets have amplified stories of unrest, political protests, and inconsistent immigration policies. Combined with longer visa processing times and an unfavorable currency exchange, Illinois, and Chicago in particular, has started to feel like a risk, not a reward. The consequences are rippling across the state. Major summer events like Lollapalooza, Taste of Chicago, and international trade expos are reporting thinner crowds and revenue shortfalls. Hotels near Navy Pier and the Magnificent Mile are offering steep discounts to fill rooms. Even the historic small towns along Route 66, once a favorite for European RV travelers, are seeing their tour bus bookings vanish. Illinois invested millions into rebuilding tourism after COVID, launching global campaigns and expanding infrastructure. But in 2025, those efforts are being drowned out by global skepticism. With fewer travelers walking Michigan Avenue and fewer euros, pounds, and yen flowing into local businesses, the state's tourism recovery is unraveling fast. Number 7. Nevada. What happens in Vegas apparently isn't happening much at all in 2025. Nevada, long considered a tourism juggernaut thanks to Las Vegas, is facing a shocking downturn that's sending tremors through every corner of its economy. The glittering lights of the Strip are still on, but the foot traffic? It's vanishing fast. According to the Nevada Division of Tourism, international visits have dropped by nearly 25% this year, the steepest annual decline since the 2008 financial crisis. This isn't just about one bad season. Convention cancellations, thinning high roller traffic from Asia and Europe, and global disillusionment with U.S. policies are all converging into a perfect storm. And it's centered right on the Vegas Strip. Casino floors that once buzzed with high-stakes energy are now noticeably quieter. Flagship resorts are slashing nightly rates to lure domestic guests, but international spending, the big money kind, isn't being replaced. Luxury shows that depended on tourist traffic are postponing or closing altogether. Even shopping meccas like the Forum shops at Caesars are seeing fewer visitors, fewer purchases, and fading optimism. The why? It comes down to perception and policy. International travelers, particularly from East Asia, are facing longer visa wait times and more aggressive customs scrutiny. Combine that with loud political headlines, increased global tensions, and warnings from travel forums, and the message is clear. Las Vegas feels riskier than glamorous. Chinese and Japanese tourists, who used to pour millions into casinos, designer outlets, and fine dining, are now opting for destinations like Singapore or Dubai. Nevada built its economy on spectacle, flashing lights, big bets, endless entertainment. But spectacle needs volume, and volume needs trust. Without a steady stream of global visitors, especially those who spend big, the state's tourism model becomes unsustainable. The cracks are forming now, and if international sentiment doesn't swing back soon, Nevada may be forced to rethink its entire identity. Number 6. New York. New York City, the icon, the dream, the heartbeat of global tourism, is eerily subdued in 2025. JFK and Newark airports have reported a 21% drop in international arrivals compared to last year. And what was once the epicenter of bucket list travel is now watching its global glow dim. It starts in Manhattan, where Broadway shows, long dependent on international audiences, are struggling to fill seats, even on weekends. According to NYC & Company, foreign attendance has dropped by nearly 30% at flagship performances. Fifth Avenue's luxury storefronts are seeing thinning crowds. Flagship brands like Saks and Tiffany are pulling back marketing budgets as overseas spending declines. But the chill isn't limited to NYC. Upstate destinations that rely on cross-border travel from Canada are feeling the pain. In cities like Buffalo and Rochester, local tourism offices report double-digit drops in hotel bookings from Canadian visitors. Niagara Falls tour companies are slashing prices to attract domestic travelers, but they're struggling to make up for the lost revenue. Foreign governments have begun issuing cautious travel advice, warning about unpredictable policies, rising domestic protests, and increasingly strict entry procedures at U.S. borders. International media coverage has painted a picture of instability and rising tension. And for many travelers, New York, no matter how iconic, no longer feels like a sure bet. The numbers are alarming. Tourism accounts for close to 400,000 jobs in the 5 boroughs and nearly 10% of NYC's private sector employment. Hotel tax revenues are falling, Cultural institutions are cutting hours and reducing staff. Even Times Square, once a shoulder-to-shoulder swarm of tourists, is starting to feel the space between the crowds. This isn't just about selfies and Broadway shows. It's about New York's place in the global imagination. If the international travel freeze continues, the economic and cultural cost will be steep, and New York's legacy as the world's capital could be the next thing to vanish. Number 5, California. California, the land of dreams, movie stars, and scenic coastlines, is now facing a tourism nightmare no one expected. In 2025, the Golden State is experiencing one of the steepest international visitor declines in its history. Once a top global destination, California is now watching its iconic attractions struggle with fewer guests, lower revenues, and a growing sense of uncertainty. According to Visit California, international visitation is down nearly 23% compared to last year. The steepest drops have come from China, South Korea, and Germany, once robust tourism markets that have cooled dramatically. Major cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego are all feeling the strain. Luxury hotels that once booked out months in advance now offer last-minute discounts. Tour buses sit idle, and local businesses that thrive on global spending are reporting double-digit revenue losses. Hollywood tours are seeing their lowest turnout in years. In Napa and Sonoma, wineries are cutting staff as tastings go half-filled. Silicon Valley Tech Expos, long magnet events for international investors and developers, are struggling to bring in attendees from overseas. Even the state's crown jewels, Disneyland, Yosemite National Park, and Venice Beach, are reporting slumps in foot traffic and foreign spending. What's behind it? A mix of rising airfare, long visa wait times, inflation-driven costs, and international travelers who are starting to see California as complicated and expensive. The media hasn't helped. With global headlines focused on homelessness in San Francisco, crime spikes in Los Angeles, and a perceived political volatility, many travelers are opting for destinations that feel more stable, more affordable, and easier to navigate. Even high-end travel agents in Europe and Asia are quietly pulling California packages from their top offerings. Instead, they're promoting Mediterranean cities, Southeast Asia beaches, and Canadian escapes. The ripple effects are now undeniable. From airport traffic to Airbnb cancellations, the downturn is stretching across every corner of the state's tourism ecosystem. With over 1.2 million jobs tied directly to tourism and billions in tax revenue on the line, California's tourism collapse isn't just a short-term problem. It's a warning sign of deeper trouble. If foreign visitors don't return, the state's economy could take a permanent hit that even Hollywood can't script its way out of. Number 4, Hawaii. For decades, Hawaii has been the dream, a tropical paradise promising relaxation, luxury, and a cultural escape unlike anywhere else in the U.S. But in 2025, even paradise isn't safe. Hawaii is now grappling with a steep and sudden drop in international tourism that's putting local jobs and businesses in jeopardy. International arrivals are down nearly 26%, according to the Hawaii Tourism Authority. And it's not just a dip, it's a full-blown contraction. Japan and South Korea, which have long fueled Hawaii's tourism engine, are now staying away in record numbers. Luxury resorts in Maui, Big Island adventure tours, and cultural centers in Oahu are all reporting sharp declines in bookings, foot traffic, and revenue. So what's going wrong? Japanese tourists, once the cornerstone of Hawaii's foreign visitor economy, are facing currency exchange woes, higher travel costs, and increasing concerns over the U.S.'s political climate. Add to that growing hesitancy driven by health regulations, tighter visa processing times, and airline route reductions, and you have a perfect storm of deterrents. Tour companies that once operated at full capacity are now slashing prices and still can't fill their schedules. Luas, snorkeling excursions, and heritage tours, all of which depend on foreign dollars, are operating at 60% or less of their usual volume. While domestic tourism offers some support, it can't match the spending habits of international travelers who tend to stay longer and spend significantly more. The impact reaches far beyond hotels and tour guides. Farmers who supply local produce to resorts, musicians and dancers who perform at cultural events, and countless small business owners across the islands are watching their customer base vanish. Even inter-island flights are being reduced as overall demand slows. Hawaii's dependence on tourism isn't a convenience, it's a foundational pillar. Nearly $1 in $5 in the state economy comes from visitor spending. If this downward trend continues, the ripple could become a wave, forcing layoffs, budget cuts, and economic rethinking. Paradise, it turns out, can feel the pressure too. Number 3. Texas. Texas may be big, bold, and booming, but in 2025, its tourism sector is buckling under international pressure. Once a growing hotspot for global travelers thanks to its music, food, and southern hospitality, the Lone Star State is now seeing fewer foreign visitors than it has in over a decade. According to Texas tourism data, international travel to the state is down nearly 24%, with steep declines from Mexico, the UK, and Germany. San Antonio's Riverwalk, Houston's museums, and Austin's music festivals are all reporting significant drops in international foot traffic. Even border cities that used to thrive on cross-border tourism are seeing shops close and hotels go empty. What's fueling the drop? Tighter immigration enforcement, negative headlines surrounding state politics, and diplomatic tensions with Mexico have created real hesitation. Mexican tourists once came in droves to shop, dine, and visit family. Now, many are staying away, citing long border waits, stricter checkpoints, and a general sense of being unwelcome. Texas has also lost out on major international events. Several conventions and sporting tournaments have relocated or scaled down due to international attendee concerns. Local business owners, especially those in hospitality and transportation, are voicing serious concerns about survival if the downturn continues. Tourism brings in over $80 billion annually to Texas. With visitor numbers declining and negative press growing overseas, even the state's iconic swagger can't mask what's happening underneath. If foreign interest continues to fade, Texas won't just lose tourists. It could lose its competitive edge on the global travel stage. Number 2. Washington, D.C. The U.S. Capitol, the symbol of American democracy, is now struggling to draw the very visitors who once traveled from around the globe to walk its monuments. In 2025, Washington, D.C. is facing a diplomatic fallout that's hitting tourism harder than at any time since 9/11. International travel to D.C. has dropped by over 28%, according to Destination D.C. Museums like the Smithsonian, the National Gallery, and the Holocaust Memorial are seeing steep declines in foreign visitors. Bus tours that once circled the Capitol and White House day and night now operate at partial capacity. Why the sharp drop? Foreign embassies are quietly discouraging travel. Rising geopolitical tensions, mass protests in the Capitol, and a global narrative that frames the U.S. as less open, less stable, and less welcoming have taken a serious toll. Safety concerns and complex visa processes are deterring even the most determined visitors. It's a dramatic shift. Just a few years ago, D.C. was hosting record-breaking numbers of European and Asian tourists, especially during cherry blossom season. Now, tour groups are rerouting to Canada or Western Europe instead. Even student exchange programs and international academic visits are being paused or canceled. Tourism is worth more than $8 billion to the D.C. economy and supports over 80,000 jobs. If international trust in America's capital doesn't rebound, the symbolic heart of the nation could suffer a lasting scar, not just on tourism, but on the country's global image. Number 1. New Mexico. It might surprise you, but the state facing the sharpest tourism collapse in 2025 isn't coastal, flashy, or home to mega theme parks. It's New Mexico. The land of enchantment has become the land of empty hotels, shuttered gift shops, and struggling cultural festivals. According to the New Mexico Tourism Department, international visits are down a staggering 31% this year, the highest drop in the nation. Once a niche favorite for travelers from Europe and Japan drawn to Santa Fe's art scene, Route 66 nostalgia, and Native American heritage, the state is now nearly invisible on the global tourism map. What happened? A lack of international marketing during post-COVID recovery, limited direct flights, and shrinking global interest in lesser-known U.S. destinations have all collided. Many travel agencies abroad no longer even list New Mexico in their packages. When combined with rising travel costs and a stronger dollar, the state has been effectively priced out of relevance. Cultural centers that once drew tour buses now sit half full. Annual festivals in Taos and Albuquerque are scaling back. Even UNESCO-designated sites are reporting their lowest foot traffic in years. And without significant state investment in reversing the trend, New Mexico's tourism infrastructure is at risk of permanent damage. In a state where tourism supports over 90,000 jobs and contributes billions to local economies, this isn't just a dip. It's a deep, quiet crisis. The saddest part? Most Americans don't even realize it's happening. From Florida's theme parks to New Mexico's deserts, America's tourism collapse is real, and it's spreading. The message from abroad is clear. The U.S. doesn't feel as welcoming, as affordable, or as worth the hassle as it once did. And the economic consequences are landing hardest on the very places that relied most on foreign guests. This isn't just about lost vacations. It's about lost jobs, shrinking tax revenue, and communities quietly unraveling. If the U.S. doesn't act fast to rebuild trust, simplify entry, and restore its global image, these 10 states could just be the beginning. If this opened your eyes, do us a favor. Hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with someone who needs to understand what's really going on. The future of American travel depends on what happens next. And the more people know, the better prepared we'll be. Thanks for watching Globe Discoveries.